Hi, my name is Gregg Braden, and I would like to talk to you about something that I'm very excited about. I have a brand new book. It is entitled Human by Design. This book overturns 150 years of scientific thinking when it comes to you and me, the way we think about ourselves. You know, we live our lives, we build our relationships, we choose our partners, we solve our problems, we heal our bodies based upon the way that we have been taught to think about ourselves, our relationship to our own bodies, our relationship to the world, our potential, and our limits. And for 150 years, a little over 150 years, since the time of Charles Darwin, you and I have been steeped in a story. And it is a story of separation, of powerlessness, of competition, of conflict, of struggle. And although we may not think about it consciously day in and day out, those ideas are hidden and they underlie. They're hidden in our thoughts and our beliefs. They underlie the very foundation of our society and the way we've been taught to think and live our lives. We have been conditioned to accept a theory of evolution when it comes to us and our origin, the story of our origin. And the story of evolution is actually a very sterile sounding story. It is a story we're asked to accept based upon chance. Just the right conditions appeared at just the right time for just the right atoms to combine into just the right molecules and create just the right patterns of amino acids with just the right conditions on the earth for life to emerge. And it has become more and more complex over time until we have humans and whatever comes after us, whatever we call post-human. That story, it is a very sterile sounding story because it makes us feel insignificant in the universe. And the scientists actually say this, that we are a very insignificant speck in the overall universe. And you might ask yourself, well, what's the big deal about that? So what if we feel insignificant? In our insignificance, we place a different value on life itself. If you're watching this right now, I know that human life is being destroyed at an unprecedented level and unprecedented ways, and it's happening right in front of our faces, right before our eyes in the world today. And it's all based upon hate. Hate based upon the color of our skin, hate based upon our sexual orientation, upon our religion, upon our belief systems. And as different as each of those may sound from one another, the common theme through all of them is that those atrocities that are occurring in our own schools, our homes, our communities, or between nations, they're only possible because of the way that we have been conditioned to think of ourselves, the way that people think of themselves. And when we are steeped in the false scientific story of separation, competition, conflict, insignificance, powerlessness, and helplessness, the result of that kind of thinking is the world that we see right now. But it doesn't have to be this way. The new discoveries, specifically, I want to talk to you about the DNA discoveries. You know, it wasn't that long ago, the movie Jurassic Park was released, a science fiction movie. And in Jurassic Park, what was happening was DNA was being extracted from the fossilized remains of dinosaurs. They were rebuilding the genome, and in the movie, they actually reconstituted the life forms. They brought the dinosaurs back to life. Well, we haven't gone quite that far yet. What we have done is this. Science fiction has become science facts. We are now able to extract the DNA from the fossilized remains of the beings that we were led to believe are our ancestors. And as the genome is being reconstructed and compared to us, to the modern day genome, what we find is they're not our ancestors at all. We didn't descend from these forms of life. That we appeared on Earth 200,000 years ago, right around there. And scientists agree with this. This isn't controversial. We showed up on Earth 200,000 years ago. Here's the part that makes it very, very interesting is we haven't changed since we arrived. If you compare us to the fossilized remains of what we see 200,000 years ago, our brain capacity is essentially the same. Our body proportions are the same. Our nervous system is essentially the same. And this is where it gets really interesting because the DNA that led to the emergence of our ancestors that are called anatomically modern humans 200,000 years ago, that DNA did not occur through random evolutionary processes. That DNA did not occur as an accident of biology or nature. And scientists say that we cannot attribute the formation of that DNA to evolution alone. Something else had to happen. And here's the reason I say, I'm just going to be very brief. The reason they say that is because the mutations, the precision of the mutations, the number of mutations, the qualities that those mutations give us in our lives, and the timing, the fact that they happened all at once rather than slowly, gradually over long periods of time, strongly suggests that the story of evolution that we're being taught today is not our story, that we are more than we've been led to believe in the past. And that's why I'm sharing this with you today, because if there is even an inkling of an intentionality underlying our existence, as the DNA fusion suggests, it leads us to what is called the forbidden territory or uncharted territory in science. It leads us to the place where we may assume that it is intended for us to develop the awesome capacity, the immense human potential that these shifts in our DNA so long ago have allowed for. So this is where the science, although it's interesting, now becomes very relevant in our everyday lives, because what gives us our uniqueness as humans, that gives us the ability for empathy, sympathy, compassion, self-healing, and self-regulation on demand, what gives us those abilities has been relegated to the studies of mystics, monks, nuns, yogis living in isolation in monasteries and mountaintops halfway around the world for a very long period of time. And you can certainly go those places and explore those things. It's a cool thing to do. But the beauty of what the new science is showing us is we can now develop this immense human potential in our living rooms. We can do it in our everyday lives. I'm talking about deep intuition on demand, the ability to regulate a powerful immune response when we choose on demand, the ability to regulate our anti-aging or longevity enzymes that we all have in our bodies, to do it on demand, super learning, super perception, to create resilience to the changes that we're seeing in our world. All these things, as different as they are from one another, the common theme through each of them is that through techniques that are simple and easy to use, we have the ability to develop these extraordinary potentials that we have believed were left for mystics in the past, and to apply them in our everyday lives so that we can live healthy lives and thrive, not just survive. I'm talking about thriving in the new world that is emerging. And there is a new world emerging. The world of the past no longer exists. And although mainstream media is reluctant to share that fact, and mainstream media is reluctant to share the studies that I am sharing with you right now about the human DNA, about what we now know of our ancestors and how we relate to them, I want to tell you this is based in peer-reviewed science. So it's not a Gregg Braden theory. It's not my hypothesis. It's not my speculation. It's not New Age thinking. Although it can be tied into all of those things, I'm talking to you about scientific facts that are simply relegated to obscure scientific journals. They're not being shared in the mainstream. We bring them all together. They tell a new human story, and it is a beautiful story. It is a story of hope and possibility. It is a story that empowers us to move forward in a healthy way in this new world, to build healthy families, healthy communities, and perhaps the most important thing of all, to achieve our greatest potential in life. Here's the reason this is important, because the better you and I know ourselves, the less we fear change. The less we fear change in the world, the less we fear one another, the less we fear the unknown. And as we globalize our world and we push together societies and cultures and religions in a way that has never happened in recorded human history, a lot of unknown things are happening. The better we know ourselves, the less we fear.